I started at American Fence in 1973. And we started with one punch press. And then from there, it moved on a lot bigger and a lot bigger. And then I decided to leave American Fence. And then I started my own company. And then from there, I had about 15 employees that worked for different companies. And when I started my company, they came and worked for me for about 2 months for free to get me going. And then from there, we started producing razor wire. But let me back up a little bit. When we invented razor wire, it started, should I draw? I'm gonna start drawing. When we started razor wire, it was this type right here. We came down here, then we came up here, then we came down here. The same thing here and here. We came here, and then we did a cutaway. It's called a cutaway, and came down here. Then we came up here, came down here, came up this way. We cut this corner out. From there, we did a detainer. That's called detainer. We came here, came up here, and we left this little piece out. Then we came out here with a detainer coming in here. That's one of the reasons we did the detainer. The reasons why is when in beds, it goes in, but you can't take it out. It's like a fish hook. When somebody jumps a fence or an inmate, what it'll do, you'll get stuck, and if you try to pull it, it'll take a chunk of meat. This one here will just cut you. This one here will detain you, and that's why they call it a detainer bar. Then, what happens is when the security guards or go looking for an inmate, what they do, they follow the blood trail. That's most of the time, and most of the time they find him under a tree or someplace bleeding to death, most of the time. On clipping this and clipping it and putting it together, a lot of people get hurt in my factory when we were doing this. And the distributors that distribute this, they sell a lot of this. Nuclear plants, submarine bases, all military in every country. And every country uses this. One machine would produce about 300 rolls to 400 rolls a day. And we sold all over the world. We sold a lot of 30-inch to different countries. We sold a lot of it to Israel. We sold a lot of it to Afghanistan. We sold a lot of it to Saudi Arabia. Those were a lot of my clients. And my biggest client was the federal government. And they sold it all over the place. And then from there, we sold a lot of it for the military, because there's always two sections in every country. You have their government, then you have the military. And the military would buy a lot. Like an example, in Spain, they would buy a lot of razor wire. An example, like Kuwait would buy a lot of wire. Korea would buy wire. Those were my competitions. My competition was China, mostly, but they couldn't import here in the state. The only thing they could import was the smaller stuff. They could not import the big stuff. And then it came around to my competitors that wanted to buy me out, and then I thought it over, and then I decided, you know what? I sold it. It was heartbreaking for the employees and stuff, because I took care of all of my employees very well. And then from there, I have a non-compete, but basically, I'll be back.